She was 18 years old. She had just started her career. And in one single moment, before dawn broke over a quiet road in Maryland, everything ended. Her name was Kaylee Hottle, and if you have watched Godzilla vs. Kong, you have already seen her face. But what happened to her, and who she really was, is a story most people never got the chance to hear before she was gone. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will understand why her story matters far beyond one movie role. Kaylee Hottle was born deaf. In an industry that rarely gives space to performers with disabilities, she did something remarkable before she was even a teenager. She was cast as Jia, the young deaf girl at the heart of Godzilla vs. Kong, released in 2021. It was not a small role. Jia was one of the emotional centers of the entire film, the bridge between the human world and the towering creature Kong. And Kaylee was not acting out a condition she had studied. She was living it. She communicated in American Sign Language both on screen and off, and for millions of deaf and hard of hearing viewers around the world, seeing a character like Jia played by someone who actually shared that experience meant something that no amount of special effects budget could buy. Casting directors and disability advocates praised the decision loudly. This was not tokenism. This was representation done right, and Kaylee was at the center of it. She returned in 2024 for the sequel, Godzilla x Kong, The New Empire, expanding the role and proving that her presence in the first film was no accident. Fans of the MonsterVerse franchise grew attached to Jia, and by extension, to the young actress who brought her to life. Away from the giant monsters and blockbuster budgets, Kaylee was a senior at the Texas School for the Deaf in Austin, a native signer whose own family communicates in American Sign Language. Those who knew her described a young woman who was warm, hardworking, and quietly determined to prove that her deafness was never a limitation, only a different way of experiencing the world. She was still a teenager balancing school, family, and the strange, sudden spotlight that comes from being part of one of the biggest franchises in modern cinema. Then came the early morning hours of July 21, 2026. Officials say a single vehicle, a 1995 Honda Accord, went off a two-lane road in Ijamsville, Maryland, and struck a culvert just before 3 a.m. Kaylee was a passenger. The driver, a 19-year-old man, survived with non-life-threatening injuries. Investigators believe excessive speed was a contributing factor. Kaylee Hottle did not survive. Her father, Joshua Hottle, confirmed the news publicly in a video recorded entirely in American Sign Language, saying he was boarding a flight he never wanted to take. Within hours, tributes began pouring in from across the entertainment industry. Her Godzilla vs. Kong co-star Millie Bobby Brown spoke out about the loss, visibly shaken by the death of someone she had shared the screen with. Legendary Pictures, the studio behind the MonsterVerse franchise, released a statement calling her a cherished member of their film family. The Texas School for the Deaf told students that Kaylee's passing would be a tremendous loss to their entire community, and made counseling available for anyone who needed it. The reaction was not limited to Hollywood. Deaf and hard of hearing communities around the world mourned the loss of someone who had represented them on one of the biggest stages in film. What makes this story so difficult is not just the age at which her life was cut short. It is the reminder of how much potential was still ahead of her. Kaylee Hottle was not a veteran actress looking back on a long career. She was standing at the very beginning of hers. She had already shown Hollywood that authentic representation could work at a blockbuster scale, not as a one-time experiment, but across two major films. There is no way to know what roles, what projects, what advocacy work she might have gone on to do. In the hours after the news broke, social media filled with clips from Godzilla vs. Kong, fans replaying her scenes as Jia, many of them noting for the first time that the young actress on their screen had been deaf in real life, just like the character she played. For some viewers, this was the first time they learned her story at all. For others, longtime fans of the franchise, it felt like losing someone they had watched grow up in front of the camera, from her first appearance at just 16 years old to the sequel 3 years later. Her family has asked for space to grieve privately, and out of respect for them, this video will not dwell on the details of the crash itself. What matters more is what came before it. A young performer who broke barriers in a major film franchise is gone far too soon, and the industry she was just beginning to make her mark on is left to reckon with the loss. Stories like Kaylee's remind us of something important. Fame does not protect anyone from tragedy, and sometimes the people who make the biggest impact are not the ones with decades of credits behind their name, but the ones who show up once, do something meaningful, and leave a mark that outlasts them. Jia, the character Kaylee brought to life, was about connection across impossible odds, a small girl who could talk to a giant. In a strange way, that is exactly what Kaylee did for audiences who had never before seen themselves represented so honestly on screen. If her story moved you today, tell us in the comments where you first saw her performance in Godzilla vs. Kong, and share this video so more people can learn who Kaylee Hottle really was, not just a name in the news, but a young woman who changed what representation in film could look like. Yeah, 100 words kuaas pas hai, same jaga ad karn kuliya. She spent her short life proving that silence was never her limitation, it was simply her language, and the world finally learned to listen. Jia was fiction, a small girl standing beside giants. Kaylee was real, and she did the exact same thing, standing in front of cameras, industries, and audiences who had never truly seen someone like her before. That is the part no crash, no headline, no scroll of tributes can take back. Rest easy, Kaylee Hottle. May every future deaf performer who steps onto a set owe a little bit of their chance to the door you quietly opened.